to Reflect and Protect, the podcast where we explore the heart of martial arts and its lessons for life. I'm your host, Kirsty Dixon, and today we're diving into a question that's both timeless and timely. Do you mind your manners? We've all heard it from parents or grandparents. Mind your manners, or good manners cost nothing. But what if manners are more than just saying please and thank you? A Korean proverb puts it beautifully. 예의 없는 사람은 것 없는 나무다. A person without manners is like a tree without flowers. Centuries ago, in 14th century England, William of Wykeham coined a phrase that captures this deeper truth. Manners maketh man. Back then, manners wasn't about table etiquette. It meant your moral character, your conduct, and how you showed up in the world. It wasn't birth, wealth, or status that defined a true person. It was respect, integrity, and behaviour. Sound familiar? This idea echoes the soul of martial arts. From the Bushido Code of Japan to the Hwarang Code of ancient Korea's Silla Kingdom to China's Confucian ideals, martial artists aren't judged by belts or brute strength, but by discipline, humility and respect. Just as manners maketh man, martial arts etiquette, bowing, listening, showing up fully, maketh the martial artist. So today we'll explore how this ancient wisdom can inspire us in 2025 when skipping a hello or dodging tough conversations feels all too common. Let's uncover how manners, in their truest sense, shape not just better martial artists, but better humans. Etiquette, at its core, is about harmony, making sure we live together without stepping on each other's toes or worse. The word itself actually comes from 18th century France, where etiquettes were little signs at Versailles telling courtiers how to behave, like stay off the grass. But the idea of manners goes back much further. Born in ancient civilizations worldwide, each with its own spin on respect and social order. So let's start with ancient Egypt. Around 2375 BCE, the Maxims of Ptahhotep, written by a vizier named Ptahhotep, is one of the earliest etiquette guides we know. It's packed with advice on humility, kindness, and truthfulness. And then jump to ancient China, where Confucius, around 500 BCE, gave us Li, ritual propriety. Li was about acting right in every relationship, whether your parents, with your rulers, or your friends, bowing to elders, speaking with sincerity. And Confucianism's influence spread to Korea's Hwarang Code in the Silla Kingdom and Japan's Bushido, embedding manners into martial arts as a way to cultivate virtue, not just skill. In India, Vedic texts from 1500 BCE tied etiquette to dharma, your duty to act righteously. Respecting elders, offering hospitality, even ritual purity, these were manners that kept society in balance. Meanwhile, in medieval Europe, etiquette took on a courtly flair. Courtesy books taught nobles how to dine without spitting or to bow to their lords. Across Africa, oral traditions like Ubuntu emphasized communal respect. In the Americas, the Maya had rituals for greeting leaders, tying manners to spiritual and social order. Now, these global trends, whether Egyptian maxims, Confucian Li, or African proverbs, they all point to the same truth. Manners are about respect, discipline, and making others feel valued. So, fast forward to 2025, and I'm sure that we can see a lot of these principles slipping. But the roots of etiquette remind us why these small acts matter. Just as ancient societies used manners to build trust, martial arts use them to forge character. When you bow in Taekwondo, you're not just following a rule, you're tapping into a global tradition of respect that's thousands of years old. So as we navigate our busy world, let's take a cue from these ancient origins. Whether it's a nod to Ptahhotep's humility or Confucius's Li, manners make us human. And in the Dojang, They make us martial artists. So, we've had a little look at the historical context of etiquette and manners, but why do manners still matter in 2025? Well, manners are really important because they actually serve as a universal framework that help build connections and reduce conflict. They foster personal and societal well-being. They kind of act like the glue that holds our diverse communities together. In Choi Kwon Do, etiquette is integral, and in daily life, manners matter for a few reasons. First of all, manners foster respect. So despite cultural differences or different economic systems, manners signal respect across these cultural, these social, these economic lines. In the United Kingdom, for example, small acts like queuing respectfully or saying please and thank you, they show that you're part of something bigger than yourself. They show that you're part of society and that you're prepared to act for the good of the whole, not just yourself. In the dojang, bowing to your instructor or your training partner, it isn't just tradition, it's a sign. It's a sign of mutual respect, and mutual respect builds trust. Another reason that I think manners are so important today is it works as a counterbalance to the digital disconnection I think a lot of us are feeling. So we all know that our reliance on digital devices and social media, it's created a sense of disconnection. How often do you see people texting instead of talking, even when they're out having dinner together, or a group of friends who've got together to meet up and they're all sitting on their phones? How many people do you see ignoring hello because they're glued to their screens? Manners, like making eye contact or offering a greeting, they pull us back to human connection and they remind us to be present. Third reason, good manners open doors. Whether it's a job interview or a networking event or a class at the dojang, showing respect and courtesy, it makes you memorable. Employers, instructors alike, they notice those who listen attentively, arrive on time and treat others with kindness. It makes them feel respected, and when they feel respected, it's so much easier for them to give that same level of respect back. It preserves identity. Manners tie us to our cultural roots. In martial arts, rituals like bowing or addressing instructors as sir or ma'am, they connect us to centuries-old traditions. And these acts, they remind us who we are and where we come from, grounding us in a world that often feels chaotic. It's just like the idea of having family traditions that, yes, we're living in the now, but having a sense of where you've come from and what came before you is actually really stabilising. And finally, it promotes mental and social well-being. Manners, they create a ripple effect. I'm sure you've noticed it. When you hold the door for someone or thank your training partner, you're fostering positivity. When you take that time to speak to your barista when you're getting a coffee, you can tell that it's had a ripple effect. And studies actually show that acts of kindness and respect reduce stress and build stronger communities. In the dojang, this translates into a supportive environment where everyone thrives. So what have you noticed lately about manners or courtesy? I'm sure we all have our own little gripes, things that annoy us on a day-to-day basis. And as a martial arts instructor, I've definitely seen firsthand how manners, or sometimes lack of them, shape our interactions. Here's what I've noticed, and quite frankly, some of my pet peeves. The first one is skipping the hello. When people walk into a room or into the dojang without a greeting or eye contact and head straight to their spot, that simple hello, it sets the tone of respect. But actually, more and more often, not just in my martial arts teaching, but in teaching in general, I notice that is something that is overlooked. So taking the time to say hello and to acknowledge people when you walk into a room. The next one, I think, is one we're all guilty of, and that's avoiding tough conversations. We all know how uncomfortable it is when you've got to deal with something and you put it off and you don't really want to have that in-person conversation because it feels more exposing. So one of my latest pet peeves is when there is something that maybe someone feels uncomfortable with, and you reach out and you want to have a conversation in person to make it a genuine, more intimate conversation, and you just get refused that conversation. Instead, you get a WhatsApp or a voice note. And to me, it kind of feels like a missed opportunity, because even if, say, for example, hypothetically, if somebody has decided to step down from a leadership role, or they've decided to stop training, yes, of course, I would prefer that they kept training, but I would equally prefer an honest and respectful conversation to finish that relationship, rather than years of training being finished with a WhatsApp message or a voice note. It feels like it's lacking in that human touch, and it almost feels like an easy way out. It's the same thing with any conversations. When you've had an argument with somebody, it's always better, in my opinion, when you're trying to resolve things, to resolve it in person rather than via text over the phone. It just gives an extra level of honesty, and it gives it that genuine feel. Next one. Oh, lateness. Lateness as the norm. Being on time shows respect for other people's schedules. Time is the one thing that we all have a finite resource of. And I think that when you show respect for other people's time, it says a lot. I think lately, lateness has become almost accepted. And I do understand that living in a busy city like London, sometimes it's unavoidable. And I know, myself included, when you're having to drive, you can't always know how the traffic's going to be, and we're all trying to navigate many different activities. And so I do understand. However, whether it's class or a meeting, showing up late does send a message that your time matters more than others. So I think being on time whenever you can, if it's out of your control, then fine, let it go. But if it's within your control, be on time. Next thing is this level of scruffiness. In any sort of discipline, uniform is a symbol of respect and belonging. And in Taekwondo, your uniform is a symbol of discipline itself. A scruffy, untidy dobok, food down it and not being ironed and all crumpled and still smelling from your last training session, it kind of suggests a lack of care. And I understand that sometimes it's just a symptom of busyness. But I think taking the time to make sure you are presentable and your uniform is in a good state, not just for the art, but for the community you're a part of, it really shows a little bit more care and consideration and, respect. Now, this one is one that I think is probably unique to Taekwondo, maybe not, but misnaming the art. Anyone who's involved in Taekwondo or a lesser known art will probably have experienced it. Parents calling Taekwondo karate, or substitute that for kickboxing or whatever. And it might seem minor, but it feels like a lack of attention to what we're building. And it feels like there's not a full buy-in. It's like, I don't know, getting somebody's actual name wrong. Knowing the name of the art, it shows respect for its unique identity and philosophy. And if you're going to be engaging your child in a program, I think, or yourself in a program, I think it's important that you know what the program offers and what it really is. There you go, moan over. They are pet peeves, but they're not only that. I think they're also signs. They're signs that we could drift easily from the discipline and respect that manners cultivate. And as martial artists, we have a chance to lead by example. But it starts with noticing where we're falling short. So how does martial arts give us a blueprint for dealing with this? Martial arts like Taekwondo offer a powerful blueprint, I think, for cultivating manners that can translate into everyday life. And here's a few ways. First of all, the concept of a ritual. So we know that rituals can help to build respect. So bowing before you enter the dojang or addressing instructors formally, it instills a habit of respect. And when you have a habit, this spills over into other areas of your life. It should carry over into how children treat teachers, how we treat colleagues or strangers outside of the dojang too. It becomes a habit. Respect is just part of who we are. Next one, discipline shapes character. So in martial arts, discipline, it's not just about perfecting a kick. It's about showing up on time, maintaining a clean uniform, doing what you say you'll do, and listening well to other people. These habits build a mindset of accountability that applies absolutely everywhere. The first principle of Choi Kwan Do is humility. It's a core manner, and that helps to keep ego in check. When we bow to a higher belt, or we help a beginner, or we train as an equal with somebody else, we're practicing humility. And when you practice humility, it makes you a better teammate, not just in the dojang as a training partner, but as in life. Next one is conflict resolution through respect. So in training, we learn how to de-escalate disagreements with grace, and this can also transfer into how we handle school, home, and work life conflicts too. And the final one is the idea of community and connection. So the dojang is a community. Our school is a community where manners, like greeting each other, or helping each other, or helping tie a belt, or showing people where to stand, they all create a sense of belonging. And this mirrors how manners can strengthen families, how they can strengthen workplaces, how they can strengthen societies. Any community, for example, is strengthened by having a connection, and manners help us tie into this. Martial arts isn't just about physical skill. It's a training ground for character. By practicing etiquette in the dojang, we're equipping ourselves to navigate the world with respect, discipline, and integrity. So it's time to take action. How do we bring manners back into our lives and our communities? Here are a few practical steps you can take, whether you're a martial artist or not. Number 1, start small, be consistent. Commit to saying hello or thank you every time you enter a room or interact with someone. In the dojang, make it a habit to bow properly and greet your instructor and your peers. Number 2, put the phone down. Challenge yourself to be present at dinner, in class, or with friends. Put your phone aside and engage fully. Eye contact and active listening are powerful acts of respect, and they can be transformative if you really go for it. Number 3, own your time. Arrive on time to class, work, or meetings. If you're running late, communicate this early. It shows you value others' time as much as your own. Number 4, have courageous conversations. Instead of texting or avoiding tough talks, practice speaking in person. Whether it's discussing a challenge with a parent or a colleague, face-to-face communication builds trust and clarity. And number 5, respect the details. In martial arts, take pride in your uniform and the art's name. Outside of the dojang, learn people's names, pronounce them correctly, and pay attention to what matters to them. How you do small things is how you do all things, is a great saying to keep in mind here. It means the way you approach minor tasks or details, it reflects your overall approach to life and work. It emphasises that consistently performing, even seemingly insignificant actions with dedication and care and attention to detail, it can lead to excellence in larger endeavours. So the idea is that the habits and mindset are cultivated through the small tasks, and they naturally transfer into bigger challenges you face in life. And finally, number 6, lead by example. As a martial artist, you're a role model. Show younger students or peers what respect looks like, whether it's a clean dobok, a proper bow, a kind word, clear communication. Your actions inspire others. And these steps, they're not just about manners. They're about building a life of integrity and connection. That's it for today's episode of Reflect and Protect. Manners aren't just old-fashioned rules. They're the foundation of respect, discipline, and connection that martial arts and life demand. As the Korean proverb says, a person without manners is like a tree without flowers. I'm Kirsty Dixon, and I challenge you to mind your manners this week. Say hello, put down your phone, and show up fully in your life. Let's make respect the norm again. Join us next time as we explore another lesson from the heart of martial arts. Until then, reflect, protect, and keep practicing on and off the mat. Thank you for listening to Reflect and Protect, Martial Arts for a Fulfilled Life. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe so you don't miss out. Remember, you have the power to shape your own life. Martial arts is about more than self-defense. It's about personal growth and finding balance. I'll see you next time.